Hello and welcome, I'm Abrax, and in this video I'm going to cram 12 core attributes into one loadout in Tom Clancy's Division 2, plus give you a full breakdown of the build that it became. Now, this video was actually born of boredom. I was grinding out a few control points and I started thinking about the fact I've been using the same builds for literally months, and it was probably time to switch it up a little. And whenever I want to start a new build, I always try and start with an idea and build from there, but I didn't really know what I was going to do, so I thought, I wonder how many core attributes I can fit into one build, and that's what I tried to do. So I started with one of my normal DPS builds, which gives me 6 red cores, which is the minimum you can have equipped, so, you know, good start. Next, I equipped the Technician Specialization, which passively gave me 1 skill tier, taking the build up to 7. The next logical step was to grab a Memento backpack. I mean, really, this was a no-brainer. If you haven't seen or come across the Memento backpack before, it comes with 1 of each of the core attributes, so 1 offensive, 1 defensive, and 1 skill tier. That takes me up to 9, which isn't too bad, and passively I'm pretty sure that's about as high as you can go. Well, except for the skill tier I could get from the TDI card custom pistol, but more on that shortly. So currently I had 6 offensive core attributes, 1 defensive, and 2 skill tier. Next, I started thinking of ways that we can add more core attributes, so I went for the weapon talent Future Perfect. Weapon kills grant plus 1 skill tier for 15 seconds, stacks up to 3 times. Weapon kills at skill tier 6 grants overcharge for 15 seconds, overcharge cooldown of 90 seconds. Obviously, with this setup, the second part of the talent isn't really going to come into play, but the first part means if we keep the kills up, we can have an extra 3 skill tiers. I actually decided to go with the named assault rifle and mechanical animal, because instead of getting those skill tiers up for 15 seconds, I can get them for 19 seconds, which means you don't have to rush to keep up the extra skill tiers, which is nice. This takes us to where I ended up with 12 core attributes, 6 red, 1 blue, 5 yellows, while keeping up the kills. And because this is shaping up to look like a pretty good hybrid build, I decided to roll one of the offensive attributes to a defensive to spread them out a little, giving the build a little more survivability at the cost of a little damage, ending up at 5 red, 2 blue, 5 yellow. Okay, so let's come back to the TDI card custom. If I have the card custom in hand, I get an extra passive skill tier. Then, throw on Future Perfect, and I actually get 4 skill tiers from this one weapon for a max of 13 core attributes. But this was very boring to play, so I'm going to go back to the mechanical animal and stick with 12. So I had a solid amount of core attributes spread out to give the build a good hybrid feel, not keeping all of the build's eggs in one basket. Now, to actually try and shape a build around it. I wanted the build to hit hard, have good survivability and good self-sustained healing to check all of the boxes of a decent feeling hybrid build. This was the goal, and I have to say I really enjoyed the end result, plus it's nice to move away from the current meta builds and play something a little bit different. This build's been really great for attacking and capturing heroic control points, which is my preferred way of farming at the moment, and it has a very bunker down and hold your ground playstyle, which I really like. Let's start with the weapons because I've already partly covered them. Like I said, for the primary, I've gone with the mechanical animal, which comes with assault rifle damage, health damage, and I've rolled damage to targets out of cover in the 3rd slot. And for the talent, it has Future Perfection, the perfect version of Future Perfect. I won't go over the talent because I did earlier in the video. For the secondary, I have a classic M1A with rifle damage, crit hit damage, and damage to targets out of cover. And here I've also rolled Perfect Future for the talent. With the standard version of this talent, the time you have the skill tiers up is slightly shorter than the perfect version, but I wanted a weapon with a little more range, plus the goal was to keep those 12 core attributes, so I felt like I still had to use a version of Perfect Future. For the pistol, I have actually gone for the TDI card custom, but with In Sync over Future Perfect. This is purely in case by some fluke I run out of ammo, and I can switch to the pistol, get the extra skill tier, and buff whatever skills I'm using with a few shots. Plus it reminds me of the SOCOM from Metal Gear Solid 1, and this makes me happy. For the gear, I have a Providence Mask, which gives us the one-piece brand bonus of 15% headshot damage, weapon damage for the core attribute, and then crit chance and damage for the minor attributes, with crit damage in the mod slot. On the chest, I have the named Providence chest piece, the Sacrifice, giving us the second brand set bonus of 10% crit hit chance. Weapon damage for the core attribute, crit chance, crit damage for the minor attributes, and then crit damage again in the mod slot. And the Sacrifice comes with Perfect Glass Cannon, all damage you deal is amplified by 30%, all damage you take is amplified by 60%. And I know this is a high risk, high reward talent, but with the survivability of this build, I've found it can happily deal with the damage taken in order to take advantage of the 30% multiplicative damage you deal. For the holster, I have a Bellstone Armory holster giving me 1% armor regen from the first brand set bonus. This is a constant armor regen whether you're in or out of combat, so it saves you a few armor kits. And on this holster I have armor for the core attribute and crit chance and crit damage for the minor attributes. For the backpack I have the Memento backpack as I mentioned earlier. The Memento backpack comes with one of each of the core attributes, which is something I'm obviously taking advantage of for this build. It also comes with its own unique talent, Kill Confirmed. Enemies you kill drop a trophy on death. Collecting trophies provides a short and long-term buff, the first of which scales with the number of core attributes and lasts 10 seconds. 5% weapon damage for every red core, 10% bonus armor for every blue, and 5% skill efficiency for every yellow. If you're not sure what skill efficiency is, I'll link my video breaking down all of the attributes, definitions, and meanings in the description. Also, for every trophy collected, gain an additional 1% weapon damage, 1% skill efficiency, and 0.1% armor regen for 300 seconds, max 30 stacks. Next, on the gloves, I'm using a pair of Grupo gloves with a one-piece brand bonus of 15% crit damage, weapon damage on the core attribute, then crit chance and crit damage on the minor attributes. And finally, for the knees, I'm using the named Murakami knee pads, the Emperor's Guard. These give me a one-piece brand bonus of 20% skill duration, which is nice, but not essential. The reason I've gone with these knee pads is for the unique minor attribute, which is another 1% armor regen. This is just like the one piece from the Bellstone brand bonus. Try saying that 3 times fast. So with them together, the build has a fairly good constant heal. And for the other attributes, I have weapon damage for the core and hazard protection on the other minor attribute. This is the only part of the build I'd really like to change. I would prefer to have crit damage over the hazard protection, but these knee pads only drop in the dark zone, which makes them really tricky to farm, so these will have to do for now. On to the skills. Because I was trying things out, I wanted to go with something a little bit different. I was determined to go with a skill that I rarely, if ever, used. And with the way this build is, I have access to a ton of skill tiers, so I tried out a bunch of different skills that I thought would synergize with a gun build with good damage at skill tier 5. So enter the Restorer Hive. I often use the Revive Hive as a just in case or to help out teammates if something goes wrong, but the Restorer Hive is something I rarely actually use, well, solo at least. By default with this build, it's at skill tier 2, but after a few kills it becomes an extremely effective healing point for just bunkering down. And for the second skill, I've gone with the turret because it never hurts to bring a friend. The turret's purpose is to help fortify a position, throwing it to a high point for the best view. When you combine your own arm's fire, the Restorer Hive and turret both at skill tier 5, you're able to place the turret, drop the hive at your feet and just hold your ground. I'll only quickly mention the specialization because I did mention it earlier, but I'm using the Technician spec with assault rifle damage, and pistol damage, and overclocked CPU for the extra skill damage. The overall stats for this build come out at 58.7% crit chance, 144 crit damage and 90% headshot damage with the mechanical animal, 53.7% crit chance, 161% crit damage and 95% headshot damage with the classic M1A, 84.1% all weapon damage, 30% assault rifle damage and 28% rifle damage, just over 1 million armor and 21,500 armor regen, which isn't too bad for a hybrid build. I always like to offer alternatives and variations because I know we don't all play the same. If you wanted more damage out of this build, I'd recommend changing the knee pads for the named Overlord knee pads, the Fox's Prayer, with weapon damage, crit hit chance or damage, and then they come with their own unique attribute, which is damage to targets out of cover for extra multiplicative damage. And for the holster, I'd change this for a Providence holster with weapon damage in the core attribute, headshot damage and crit damage in the minor attributes, and this also gets you an extra 15% crit damage from the third brand set bonus. But if you wanted to go the opposite way with this build for more survivability instead, keep the holster and roll armor on the Emperor's Guard knee pads instead of the weapon damage, taking it up to 3 armor cores. And also swap out the chest piece for a standard Providence chest piece with the same attributes, but obliterate over glass cannon. This will let you take more damage while still getting a good amount of damage out of the talent. This is because with the mechanical animal we're very close to the crit chance hard cap of 60%. And that's what my odd experiment ended up at. Get a few kills to fully proc future perfect, drop the hive at your feet, get the turret in a good position, and hold your ground. Considering this was a random let's see what happens if kind of build, I'm really enjoying it. I can see myself using this for control points for a while and just kind of tweaking it as I go. And that is it for the video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this one, giving it a like helps more players find it, and don't forget to subscribe for future uploads. If you'd like to support the channel, you can become a Patreon for as little as £1 a month. You'll find a link for that in the description below. Have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one.